I love kissing. I believe it's the action that stops time in its tracks, the act powerful enough to awaken the sleepiest of princesses, and the most romantic gesture that exists in our world today. If you're close to me, you've probably heard me say that I love kissing many times. But as I was thinking about how I wanted to best curate and create this talk, where I was the artist in control of how I wanted to speak about the way I understand love, intimacy, and connection, and the best way to cultivate the courage to love, I kept coming back to this phrase that I say so often and so easily: I love kissing. And I've come to realize that there are two greater things that I mean when I say it. So when I say the sequence of these three words, the first thing that I'm trying to communicate is I'm trying to tell everyone around me that I am someone who is absolutely head over heels in love with love. I find it fascinating how the concepts of love are so complicated and complex, yet simultaneously so simple. I find it beautiful how in everyday interactions we can find love, but that it's up to us to choose to see it. And after I have read and talked to and spoken about and watched everything I could on the topic of love, I have come to believe that love can best be understood as an art. And similarly to how we cannot tell a writer the perfect way to write a novel, and similarly to how we cannot tell a painter the perfect way to fill a canvas, and similarly to how we cannot tell a dancer the best and most intuitive ways to move their bodies, I believe there is no perfect way to love. Because love in itself is so individual, and it's so personal, it's so artistic. The second thing that I mean when I say that I love kissing is it's my way of asking, or maybe a better word is hoping, that others around me join me in this conversation surrounding love, intimacy, and connection. And so, when it was 2020, March of 2020, I found myself at home in quarantine with my family with an abundance of time. And so I used that time to become a yoga instructor, to perfect my Australian accent. I learned how to better dance. I binge watched Sex and the City, and I baked. Now, I was baking all these dishes and baked goods, and I absolutely loved it. And I thought to myself, I'm going to create a notebook where I can put all of my favorite recipes. And so, if you look at it today, it has apple Dutch pancakes and blueberry muffins and banana bread and chocolate fudge brownies. But while I would bake, I would watch Sex and the City. And there was a point in the show that really stuck with me. And it's when Carrie Bradshaw, the main character, says, "When I moved to New York, I was super broke. Sometimes I'd find myself buying Vogue instead of dinner because I felt like it fed me more." Wow. I really connected with this line. It fed her more. There are things in my life that feed me more, sometimes, than food. Although food is essential, what about to feed me emotionally and energetically? So naturally, I took a couple pages out of my recipe book and I dedicated them to things that are not food, but are still essential in my life to help me feel nourished and excited and rejuvenated. And one of those is how to love courageously. Now, it's a really simple recipe that I've come up with, and it doesn't even require an oven. It consists of curiosity, connection, and conversation. So let me take you back to when I was a rising freshman in high school. I was the last one left of my girlfriends who had not experienced her first kiss. And although I was super excited about it, I was waiting for the right boy and the right moment because I insisted on it being special. And so that summer, I found myself having a crush on a boy, and to my surprise, he liked me back, and we started this amazing romance of 3 weeks. And as our relationship really blossomed and became more serious, our conversation shifted from, hey, how are you? How was your day? To, what are your thoughts on us kissing? And so I told him that I was ready to kiss him, and he told me that he was ready to kiss me, and we planned a date and a spot and a time to have our first kiss. And I was so excited. Until the night before. And then I got nervous. And this thing inside of me started to wonder and ponder. And I realized now that that was curiosity, but I was scared. What is it going to be like? What is it going to feel like? I've never done this before. What if I'm not good at it? So naturally, I found myself going to Google and typing in how to be a good kisser. Now let me tell you, I knew that WikiHow page inside and out. I knew how to tilt my head 45 degrees to one side, that I needed to moisturize my lips the night before, that I wanted to pucker them and only open my mouth if my partner did so too, and that I wanted to be loose in my body while simultaneously maintaining all of these very detailed directions. So we kissed, and it was awkward, but it was cute, and it was funny, but it was weird. And what I know now that I didn't know then is that I was searching for the curiosity outside of myself, when in reality it was inside of me the whole time. And that leads me to my next point, my next critical ingredient for how to love courageously, which is connection. Now, connection has two parts. It involves connection with myself, but it also involves connection with my partner. And so, listening to myself, I think, does my head, my heart, my gut, and my sex center all say yes to the person in front of me? But then also being in tune and in communication and connected enough with my partner to know that their head, their heart, their gut, and their sex center is also saying yes to me. Now, like I said before, this recipe does not require an oven, and so the conversation about putting a bun in the oven is a talk for somebody else at another time. But I will say that this in-tune alignment can work for other acts of physical intimacy beyond kissing. Now, when I'm not studying or reading or watching TED Talks on love and intimacy and connection, I often find myself either at a farmer's market, watching Sex and the City, hanging out with my friends, or writing on my blog. But I also love being around children, because children have this courageous ability to be curious. They are constantly so cute and interesting, and I love their outfits, and I wish they came in adult-sized clothing. But I also love their fearlessness. So I have a story about one of the girls that I babysit for. Let's call her Sarah. And this was, and for a long time I was babysitting her, and I would, feed them dinner, and we'd have cute conversations, sometimes play princess. And then I'd say, all right, Sarah, it's time for dessert. And she would like shake. And I'd be like, and she'd say, raisins! And I was like, what is wrong with her? Okay, oh yeah, sure. This little red box like really got her excited. That was, it was super cute. But then I went trick-or-treating with her in 2018, and it was fascinating to watch her consume Skittles for the first time. She literally almost fell over in her princess outfit. But what I realized in that moment was her palate was expanding. And so she had only known dessert to be raisins, and therefore it was the best thing she had ever tried. Now I'm really grateful to be super obsessed with chocolate fudge brownies and ice cream and cake, but Sarah doesn't know about those yet. Now I say this story because it connects back to being connected with ourselves and our partners, because now I can stand in front of you all today and say that I have kissed boys where my head, my heart, my gut, and my sex center, and my partner's head, heart, gut, and sex center all aligned and said yes in that communication, and that's when I fell in love with kissing. And once you've tasted the rainbow, raisins just don't cut it. My next, last, and debatably the most important ingredient in my recipe for how to love courageously is conversation. When I was training to become a yoga instructor, one of our teachers asked us, what is the opposite of suffering? And so our class had amazing answers like love and affection, joy, happiness, enlightenment, peace. No, she said to all of these, the opposite of suffering is understanding. And when we don't understand, I think you could call that ignorance. And I believe that ignorance breeds fear. And then when we look around our small community and even our large community today, there is a fear surrounding love, intimacy, and connection out of ignorance. And so, out of ignorance. And so I come back to the point of conversation, because conversation in itself allows us to connect with others. And conversation in itself ignites curiosity. But conversation also has the ability to help us expand our understanding. And I stand in front of you all today as someone who understands that love is difficult, and it hurts, and it's complex. I've been heartbroken 2 times, and I honestly can tell you that I cannot wait to fall in love again. But that is a choice that I have come to understand because I have explored this for myself, and I truly believe that loving and losing is better than never loving at all. And so how do we cultivate this understanding? Well, like I said before, love is an art. And so it's individual and it's personal, and I cannot tell you how to love, where to find it, what to do once you have it. I can simply only tell you my story. And so you are artists with paintbrushes and water and a blank canvas. And I hope you explore through conversation and your curiosity what love can mean and be to you. Because I truly believe it's the greatest medicine that exists. And the thing that we all crave and deserve. And so, I leave you with this. You are an artist who has the ability to facilitate this conversation and join this conversation and explore what love has the potential to be. And only through that exploration can you realize that there are desserts that exist that are better than raisins. But you have to be willing to trick or treat. And you have to be willing to try and love. I love kissing. I believe it's the action that stops time in its tracks, The act powerful enough to awaken the sleepiest of princesses, and the most romantic gesture that exists in our world today. But I believe those things because I am the artist that gets to understand love for myself, and that is what I've chosen to believe. Love often, love more, and love courageously. Thank you.